Hey Synth Drones, today we're going to talk about my favorite sounding synthesizers that I own. Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone and this is my channel where I talk about synthesizers. So if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, tap that bell, let's get on with the video. Well, I own a lot of synthesizers. I got to tell you that some of them are put up for now because I'm working on some special projects. Well, not special projects, but projects that they're just not needed for right now. And I wanted to talk about some of my favorite sounding synthesizers. Now, these are the synthesizers that I particularly think are the best sounding, okay, and that I usually reach for first, especially when I need a particular sound that I know is going to cut through the mix. So let me start down here. I think one of my most favorite digital, and it's not really digital, but analog hybrid digital synthesizers is going to be the Evolver, the Poly Evolver. It has an incredible sound. I wouldn't call it the thickest analog sound that there is out there, but believe me, it is a great sounding machine. I'm sure all you synth drones out there have gotten your ears to hear what this thing can do via videos. But it always surprises me when I start going through the patches and start tweaking them, just what this little monster can do. It's a 4-note poly, but I tell you what, it sounds much bigger than that. So I would highly recommend that if your studio does not have a Poly Evolver, grab one of these monsters before they get so old that they're going to be really expensive. I think they're up to about $2,000 now. And I didn't pay quite that much for this one, okay? But I have to say that I would have if I had to have. It was a great deal that I got on it, and man, I would highly recommend one of these for your studio. Now, the next one that I think sounds absolutely fantastic, and it gets a lot of bad press for some reason as sounding cold and brittle, and that is the Prophet Rev 2. This gives me the classic vibe of yesteryear. I think it does. I think it does. I was a fan of the Prophet 8. I had the Prophet 8 rack, and I sold it back when I didn't know any better to hang on to gear. And I sold it because I didn't like the lack of effects. And I've later learned that just adding effects to these secondary, after production is probably the best thing to do, or using some kind of effect pedal with them is probably the best thing to do anyway, because I'm not really impressed too much with the onboard effects. They sound okay. But the synth engine in this, the analog feel of this, to me, it's ear candy. It's different. It's different than most other, and I can't explain why. It just is, and it's a great job. So yeah, Sequential did a great job on this, even though when they did it, I think they were still Dave Smith instruments because their logo is still on here. I don't know. Maybe they should have kept it as Dave Smith. I would say on this rack here, this is the Behringer DeepMind 12, and on this rack here, I have a collection of some really unique analog synthesizers. This one's not turned on right now, but this sounds really good for the money. I do think at sometimes it sounds a little flat, but when you hit the parameters just right and you tweak it just right, it can really surprise you. And when you really need a unique sound, you can pull it out of this box. And it's got some gives and it got some takes. It's one of my favorites, though. It still is one of my favorites. Now, for sound quality and overall just tone, I don't think anything beats the Juno 106 for classic synthesizers. This is just a beauty. I have saw videos where pros have bought more than just one of these. I mean, they have like 5 or 10 if they can get their hands on them. And it's just an amazing sounding synthesizer. And here's the deal. It doesn't have a whole lot of onboard effects, but boy, I tell you what, you pair this up. You pair this up with any kind of fancy reverb or delay and this thing is just unbelievable for what it can do. It really is. It is a great sounding synthesizer. I got this at a really great deal. It was totally refurbished, and it's got the cool blue on it and everything. So I got a great deal on this synthesizer. And that's really the name of the game, is getting some really good deals. I had this synthesizer, the JDXA, some time ago, and I sold it again back when I didn't discipline myself. Nowadays, I hang on to everything. I don't sell nothing. And anyway, this one here is a hybrid of digital and analog put together. And I got to tell you guys, again, I missed the sound palette that this thing brought to my studio. Personally, I think it's one of the most frustrating synthesizers I have ever used outside of the Analog 4 from Electron. I hated the menu diving in that one, and sometimes I cringe just thinking about it. Don't hate me, guys, because just a side note here, Electron makes some absolutely fantastic machines. I just don't have the patience to deal with them. So that's just me. It's my fault. I take the blame for that 100%. There is no bad synths, just bad synth users. That's sometimes my motto. It just depends on my mood. But getting back to the JDXA, this to me, guys, this is a frustrating synthesizer for me in many respects. And I think that's why I sold it, by the way. But it is fantastic sounding. And I think Roland did a really great job of putting analog and digital together. And I think that the two sounds put together are just amazing. And if you separate them apart, you know, the digital isn't too bad either. They did a really good job on their analog modeling. And I know a lot of people are like, what did he just say? No, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't sound like analog. To me, it sounds like a new digital. So if that makes any sense to you. So their digital analog actually sounds like the new digital to me. And I think they did a great job on that. All right. So yeah, next is the Prophet 6. I just can't get over the sound of this machine. If I had to pick one analog machine that sounded absolutely the best as far as sound texture goes, I'm going to have to go with the Prophet 6. So, and this is my experience, okay? This is what I would have to say. It's clean, it's mean, it's lean. The sound is pristine. Okay, enough with the rhyming. But, man, you know, it's like the Juno 106. Totally different machines, but they sound so good, so fantastic. You can't go wrong putting this in your mix. You just can't. I mean, there's just nothing you can do to make this thing sound bad in a mix, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And then its sister brother, I don't know, its opposite twin is the OB6. I tell people, you know, these are two different sounding machines altogether. Altogether. You cannot compare the two because there is, to me, no similarities. You know, I mean, yeah, they're analog, okay, right? So that's what they are. Then I got down here the Prophet X. Now, this is one of my favorites because it's unique, okay? I have yet to find a synthesizer outside of making your own samples that sounds quite like this. This is just a unique machine. It doesn't always find a place in all of my genres, okay? But it could just be because, you know, I'm just not looking hard enough. But there is one complaint that I have about the Prophet X. It seems to have a little bit of hiss. And at first I thought it was just mine, and maybe I got a bad one, but other people have said the same thing, that there seems to be some hissing So it is a little loud, but if you got some software that can take care of that, you'll be okay. Now, my next sounding synth that I call one of my favorites is probably going to surprise a lot of people, but it's the JDXI. This thing is really a nice sounding machine. It's got a really great drum machine in it, if you want to call it that. It's got some really good sounding drums. This is one of my very first synthesizers that I bought hardware-wise when I was restarting my my studio, and it's an early edition is what I mean by that. And I would suggest that if you're starting out in synthesizers, that you get you something like this, because, hear me, it's got your analog, it's got your 2 digitals, and it has your drums. And with that in a DAW, you can produce all sorts of music. And you won't need anything else for a very long time. So when people ask me, you know, what should I start out with? I would tell you a JDXI. It's got everything you need. It's got a sequencer. I can go on and on, okay? When we're talking about sound quality, I think it sounds fantastic. I think it's a great addition. And for a while, I hadn't even had it hooked up, all right? I don't know why. I just didn't hook it up. But yeah, I got it hooked up now. It's always been a part of my studio. I've been using it as a sequencer and stuff. And then over here, I got the Roland TR8, and this is not analog. It's all digital. I think it sounds fantastic. I think it sounds really good. I think it sounds better than some analog machines that I've had. I don't know how Roland did it, but they did it, and they did a great job. I'm not the only one that feels that way. I would love to own a Roland just because they did such a fantastic job on this. They have my business on some of the things that they've been coming out with. So anyways, that is my take on some of my favorite sounding synthesizers that I own. And I can only speak about the ones that I own. I can't talk about the ones I don't own. And I have some other synthesizers that I have put away. Not very many more, but you could tell that since I have these out and they're a part of my studio permanently, that I must really use these a lot. And I do. So anyway, what are your favorite synthesizers, sound-wise? And tell me why you like the sound in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. It encourages me to do these videos. And until next time, keep calm and synth on.